providers of Minnesota's The Inside Scoop, with your advocacy team, Toby Pearson, Aaron Bowie, and Todd Bergstrom. This week's guest host, Patti Cullen.
Welcome to this week's edition of The Inside Scoop. I am the substitute because it is the last day before the second committee deadline and our folks are over at the Capitol. So you get me. Sorry. Here's a couple of tips for you for the week. We are entering the spring break at the legislature, meaning close to midnight tonight, all the legislators will be going home for the next 10 days into their home districts. Now is a really good time for you to get in contact with your local legislators and to shore up the relationships you may have had or establish new ones. The secret to our success at the Capitol is not just the intense lobbying work that we do, but it's also you, members in the individual legislative districts who have established relationships. So here's a couple of tips that I want to go over for this week's Inside Scoop. When you contact your legislators, invite them to your buildings. If they can't make it this week, invite them another time at their convenience. Most Fridays during sessions, they will be available to come see you, so extend that invitation. Thank them for listening to the voices of caregivers, listening to the voices of consumers and families, and those who have been harmed by the elder abuse that got the front page story of the newspapers and the attention of legislators during legislative hearings. It's also important, though, that you reflect what you do to prevent abuse and neglect in your buildings. Talk about what you do in training. Talk about what you do to investigate allegations of maltreatment in your buildings. Talk about what you do to respond quickly to abuse when it occurs, and that you, like everyone else in this profession, have zero tolerance for abuse and neglect in your settings. So tell your story of what you do to prevent it. Tell them what you learned from incidents that may have happened in your building. So for example, if you had an occurrence of a fall, what did you do to figure out how to prevent it from happening next time? So those are the things they need to hear from you. They also want to make sure that you, for the housing members that we have, there are a lot of issues relating to senior housing and information to consumers to make sure that we are transparent for the seniors and the folks that we serve. So make sure as well that you talk about what you do in your senior housing settings. What information do you give them before they move in? What happens when they need more services? What happens if they run out of money? How you really take care of the clientele that you serve. And again, putting a face to your stories is really important. At the end of the day, they may ask you, what bills do we support? There are a lot of moving bills over at the Capitol right now relating to elder care, prevention of abuse and neglect. So we support the House bill authored by Deb Keel that has gone through the process and met the deadlines, committee deadlines. It will now be going to the Finance Committee for the third deadline to ascertain what the costs are for some of the provisions we include in there. On the Senate side, we do support a different bill, supported the bill by Aging Committee Chair Senator Housley. There are a few things that we need to improve with that bill, but that is the vehicle in the Senate that we've been supporting through the process. We do know there's an urgency to add. We do want to see a bill that passes this year. We do believe that the Office of Legislative Auditor recommendation should be followed, and it includes systems changes. It includes changes to reporting, the use of the data, and timing of surveys. It also includes language establishing working groups to take a look at the assisted living framework that we have in Minnesota for licensure and registration, because they do admit that there's some confusion there from the consumer perspective that we need to address. Remember, every group isn't going to get everything they want this year, and we need to work together in collaboration with others who have brought issues forward. We pledge to continue to do that until the rest of the session is over. As we approach the day when there will be 1 million seniors over age 65, we have to make sure that we do enough to prepare We have to make sure we have enough caregivers to provide care, and that has to be part of our focus as well as we look toward May 20th, the end of this legislative session. So, in your legislative visits, if you need additional talking points, we have them on our website here. We are happy to give you advice. Feel free to call any of the advocacy team and we can give you background information on your legislators and additional talking points if you need them. Make sure you talk about what you know. Talk about your caregiving, talk about how you've been working with families and staff, and talk about why you're in this profession. Thank you and have great visits over the legislative break.